The hidden war with the wild. The night is quiet, but not peaceful. Beyond the edge of the village, under a moon washed silver with mist, the soil trembles with movement. Farmers lie awake, hearts pounding, knowing that somewhere in the darkness a herd of wild boars is on the move. They will not hear the tusk slicing through tender roots until it is too late. This is not a distant wilderness myth. It is the global reality of a silent invasion. It feels like fighting a storm you can't see coming, whispers Marta, a small-scale farmer in southern France. Her words carry the exhaustion of endless nights guarding fragile crops and the terror of hearing fences snap like dry twigs. Each season she loses nearly a third of her harvest, grain that should feed her children and pay her workers. Across Europe, Asia, the Americas, and Australia, similar voices echo: mothers who can no longer let children play near the fields, ranchers who wake to find whole pastures cratered like a battlefield, scientists who watch delicate ecosystems collapse beneath relentless hooves. From ancient forests to global menace. Thousands of years ago, the wild boar was a creature of balance. It roamed forests from the Mediterranean to East Asia, a keystone species turning soil and spreading seeds. But human expansion changed everything. The Roman Empire prized boar hunts as the ultimate test of courage. Medieval kings bred them for sport, moving them from forest to forest, unwittingly expanding their range. Centuries later, colonists carried pigs across oceans, some escaping to become feral in alien landscapes. Today their descendants, hybrid warriors of domestic pig and wild boar, reproduce at astonishing speed. A single sow can birth 2 litters a year, each with 6 or more piglets. Within a decade, one small group can explode into thousands. We're dealing with an animal designed to survive anything, says Dr. Lena Okoye, a wildlife biologist in Texas. They outthink traps, outbreed predators, and adapt faster than we can respond. The human cost. The numbers are staggering. Worldwide, wild boars cause billions of dollars in damage every year, flattening cornfields, contaminating water sources, and wrecking infrastructure from fences to irrigation lines. But statistics can't capture the intimate grief. Families forced to abandon ancestral farms because insurance won't cover repeated losses. Children awakened by the screams of livestock attacked in the night. Communities where nightly patrols replace evening meals, neighbors standing side by side with rifles beneath a cold moon. It's like living under siege, confides Ahmed, a father of 3 in rural Pakistan. Every sunset I wonder what we'll find at sunrise. Will our crops be there? Will our goats still be alive? Why eradication fails. Governments have tried nearly everything: mass culls, bounties, poisons, even birth control bait. Yet the boars remain. Intelligence and memory, they remember traps and teach their young to avoid them. Rapid reproduction, remove half a population and the survivors breed faster. Urban adaptation, from Berlin to Sydney, they slip into suburbs, rummaging through bins like shadowy neighbors. Dr. Okoye calls them the ultimate opportunists. And as climate change alters habitats and food availability, boars only grow bolder. A planet-wide front line. From the vineyards of Italy to the rice paddies of Japan, from the savannas of Africa to the wheat fields of Kansas, humanity fights a common enemy. In France, hunters form night squads, tracking herds with thermal drones. In Australia, helicopter teams sweep the outback, rifles flashing in the dawn. In Brazil, farmers build steel-reinforced barriers around every hectare of valuable crop. Still, the herds return. Families on the edge. The war against wild boars is not fought only in forests and fields, it is fought in kitchens and bedrooms, in the quiet moments when families should feel safe. Night of broken fences. In a small village outside Bordeaux, France, 11-year-old Camille once loved to help her grandfather water the vineyards. Now, she wakes to the sound of metal twisting in the dark. One evening, a crash shattered the calm. When her grandfather rushed outside, he found a section of the vineyard fence ripped open, vines flattened like paper. Boars had feasted on grapes meant for the year's wine harvest. I watched my grandfather's hands shake, Camille recalls. His strong, but that night he looked defeated. The loss wasn't just fruit, it was tradition, income, and pride. This single raid cost the family more than €15,000 and months of careful cultivation. Farmers' voices across continents. India's Assam region, rice farmer Deepa describes entire paddies churned into mud. It feels like our ancestors are crying with us, she says, tears streaking her sun-worn face. Texas Hill Country, rancher Mike Sanderson tallies livestock injuries. It's not just crops. They gore calves, they smash water lines. It's 24/7 repair. Kenya's Tita Hills, coffee growers stand guard through the night with kerosene lamps, their children asleep in nearby huts. Each story carries the same refrain: exhaustion, financial ruin, and a creeping fear that tomorrow will be worse. Ecological fallout. Wild boars are more than a farmer's nightmare, they are an ecological earthquake. Soil erosion. Their rooting behavior churns up topsoil, releasing carbon and destabilizing native plant communities. Water contamination. Streams become muddy highways for bacteria like E. coli, threatening human health and fish populations. Biodiversity collapse. Ground nesting birds lose eggs. Amphibians vanish as wallows drain wetlands. Dr. Aroha Tirangi, a conservation ecologist in New Zealand, warns. It's like dropping bulldozers into a rainforest. Everything suffers: plants, insects, birds, even the soil's microbiome. The emotional toll. The invisible scars may run deeper than the visible ones. Sleeplessness. Families patrol with flashlights, hearts racing at every rustle. Financial anxiety. Insurance rarely covers wildlife damage, leaving entire livelihoods one raid away from collapse. Community strain. Neighbors argue over responsibility. Should hunters be allowed closer to homes? Who pays for fencing? Psychologists report rising cases of anxiety and depression in rural areas where boar incursions are constant. It's not just the land they destroy, says therapist Carla Ruiz from southern Spain. It's the sense of safety that evaporates. Technology and tactics. Despite the despair, human ingenuity pushes forward. Drones and thermal imaging. High-resolution drones equipped with infrared cameras sweep night skies. Operators track herds in real time, guiding ground teams with pinpoint accuracy. Smart traps. Engineers design corrals with remote-triggered gates. Entire sounders, family groups, can be captured at once, reducing partial culls that prompt rapid breeding. Helicopter hunts. In Texas and parts of Australia, aerial teams patrol thousands of acres, combining speed with sweeping visibility. A single weekend mission can remove hundreds of animals, yet the population rebounds within months. Ethical crossroads. Not everyone agrees on lethal control. Animal rights groups call for non-violent solutions: contraceptive feed, relocation, rewilding predators. Farmers counter that without immediate action, food security and rural economies will collapse. The debate pits compassion against survival, and each side claims urgency. Policy battles across the globe. As wild boars spread, governments scramble to answer a single urgent question: who owns the problem? Europe, negotiating tradition and crisis. Italy, local authorities impose night curfews on hunters and open new funding for reinforced fencing. Yet centuries of culinary and hunting tradition complicate the push for mass culls. Germany, after African swine fever threatened domestic pig farms, Berlin authorized year-round hunting, even in suburban parks, a shocking move for a nation that prizes wildlife protection. Spain, regional governments clash over responsibility. Farmers demand swift action, urban animal rights groups call for contraception programs instead of bullets. The debate is as political as it is ecological. Elections hinge on promises to control the plague, but budgets and public opinion pull leaders in opposite directions. United States, federal versus state. In Texas alone, the feral hog population is estimated at over 3 million. States fight for federal funding while ranchers push for looser hunting laws. The Department of Agriculture experiments with sodium nitrite bait, a chemical that targets swine physiology, but approval remains tangled in environmental reviews and lawsuits. Every delay is another ruined harvest, says cattleman Ray Ortega. We can't wait for Washington while these things breed like wildfire. Australia and New Zealand, island challenges. On islands, invasive species become existential threats. Australia spends hundreds of millions annually on aerial culling, yet boars continue to devastate wetlands crucial to endangered bird species. New Zealand treats feral pigs as part of its broader predator-free 2050 strategy, combining GPS tracking, drone surveillance, and more-led community hunts. The genetic edge. Why do wild boars thrive where so many other species fail? The answer lies in hybrid vigor. Domestic crossbreeds, escaped farm pigs mix with wild populations, producing larger, faster-growing offspring. Reproductive speed. Sows can breed at 6 months and carry 2 litters per year, each averaging 6 or more piglets. Intelligence. Studies show they remember trap locations for years and teach avoidance to their young. Dr. Hiroko Tanaka, a Japanese geneticist, calls them evolutionary opportunists, nature's ultimate survivors. Case studies of courage. Italy's wine country. The rolling hills of Tuscany hide nightly battles. Vineyard owners form armed cooperatives, patrolling rows of Sangiove's grapes with thermal scopes. Despite thousands of removals, herds return from neighboring provinces. Texas helicopter teams. Private outfits offer pork chopper services. Two-person crews sweep across ranchland at dawn, removing entire sounders in hours. It's dramatic, but even after 150,000 hogs culled in a single year, populations rebound within seasons. Queensland wetlands, Australia. Conservationists combine indigenous tracking knowledge with modern drones. The collaboration protects nesting grounds of rare waterbirds while respecting traditional hunting rights. Communities finding hope. Despite staggering odds, pockets of progress inspire resilience. Cooperative fencing projects. Farmers pool resources for shared electric barriers that span miles. Community night watches. Volunteers rotate patrol shifts, turning fear into collective action. Educational campaigns. Schools teach children about biosecurity and humane control methods. These efforts remind the world that while the boar problem is global, solutions are profoundly local. Legends, myths, and cultural memory. Before they became a global menace, wild boars lived deep in the human imagination. Ancient symbols of strength. Greek mythology. The Caledonian boar was sent by Artemis to punish a king's arrogance. Heroes like Atalanta and Meleager became legends after confronting it. Norse lore. The golden boar Gullinbursti carried the god Freya, a creature of both ferocity and fertility. South Asian epics. In the Mahabharata, Varaha, the boar incarnation of Vishnu, lifts the earth from cosmic waters, embodying creation itself. Across cultures, the boar signified power, chaos, and unstoppable will. Villagers carved its image on shields, warriors invoked its spirit before battle. The feast and the hunt. For centuries, boar meat symbolized celebration. Medieval European banquets centered around a roasted boar's head, an emblem of wealth and courage. In Japan, inoshishi nabe remains a winter delicacy. Rural communities in the Balkans still host annual boar hunts, mixing ritual with survival. These traditions complicate today's eradication efforts. For many, the boar is not just an invader but a living link to ancestry. Modern cultural crossroads. As cities expand and rural practices fade, societies wrestle with conflicting feelings, awe for the animal's historic place, fear of its destructive reach. In Germany, urban dwellers snap photos of boars strolling through parks, torn between delight and alarm. In Japan's KBE region, spiritual ceremonies bless hunters before organized culls. In North America, hog hunting has evolved into both a necessary control method and a controversial sport. Anthropologist Dr. Safia Collins notes, "Our relationship with boars is a mirror of our relationship with wilderness itself, reverence entwined with dread." A global call to action. Despite cultural complexity, the stakes are unmistakable. Food security, biodiversity, and public safety depend on coordinated action. Key strategies emerging worldwide. Cross-border data sharing. Nations create shared databases to track migrations and outbreaks of swine-related disease. Biosecurity education. Farmers learn sanitation techniques to prevent the spread of African swine fever and other pathogens. Innovative science. Researchers test species-specific fertility control and gene-drive technologies, tools that may one day curb populations without mass killing. Community empowerment. Local leadership remains critical. Programs led by indigenous rangers in Australia and Maori Kaitiaki in New Zealand show that traditional knowledge can guide modern control efforts with respect and effectiveness. Closing. The wild boar stands as a paradox, a creature of ancient myth and modern menace, of celebrated feasts and catastrophic raids. It is a survivor of ice ages and empires, now challenging our ability to coexist with the natural world. This is not simply a battle against an animal, says Dr. Aroha Tirangi. It's a test of whether humanity can balance compassion with the hard choices needed to protect our future. As the sun sets over fields scarred by tusks, the question lingers for every nation, farmer, and city dweller. Will we rise to meet this challenge, or will the night belong to the boar?